Are we ready to start? At 5:51, call the meeting to order. Welcome, everybody. Everybody's enjoying the good weather. We finally got here. Hopefully it sticks around for a while.
Of course.
I think I know Linda sent out with the agenda minutes. So everyone had a chance to kind of look them over.
These are also February minutes. Well, first, here's an agenda. Do we want to introduce? So we had an issue with January's because they weren't actually complete when we reviewed them. I thought they were.
Uh-huh.
They had come in a couple of parts, so now they are updated. And also last meeting, there were only 4 of us, so we didn't officially have a quorum.
Yeah. So we need to
So that's why they both on.
officially approve the minutes of January and February. Anybody got anything they want to comment on the minutes? I think all I saw were a couple of typos, which is no big deal.
Typos don't count.
No.
It's the content.
Right, well, the content is excellent. So I'd entertain a motion to approve we do both together, minutes of January and February, we do them separately or together? We do them together separately? Okay.
Move we approve January.
All right, all those in favor of approving January?
Aye.
Approved, and I'll have a motion to accept the minutes of February as written.
Make a motion.
Seconded?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, approved. All right, Linda, you got the floor.
That was fast. Hi. Good evening.
Are we going to introduce ourselves?
Oh, do we want to do that?
Sure.
Okay, let's introduce ourselves. Starting with Linda.
I am Linda Hayes, Director of the Council on Aging.
I'm Pat Conway, member.
Lucille Sorrentino, member. Dale Baylor, board member.
Gordon Price, Chairman.
J.D. Miller, member.
Mario Tool, Board of Selectmen Liaison.
Well, welcome, everybody. Thank you for being here. My report for this month, well, if you were still wondering, what happened in February, you can tell by the numbers initially in my report, where last month, which was already down, so the numbers for January for people getting in and doing things, it was still the first month of winter, was much less than December or the fall. So now in February, versus 256 people coming in the door, we had 107. So it was a quiet month with all of the cancellations because of the snow. There were 2 or 3 days that we weren't open literally, and then even when we were, parking or van transportation was not available. So numbers are much less than usual. We did have some of our regular activities and tried to squeeze in some exercise, but some of them only met once during the month, in fact. As we got into towards the end of the month, the Scituate history of Scituate class that we have with Bob Jackman, which usually meets here on Wednesday afternoon, had to be canceled 2 weeks in a row. That was the earlier part of February. So I think they might have missed 3 weeks, and so we decided to ask St. Luke's if we could have them meet up there. And they were so happy that they could get out of their house and had some reason, to go, and they were really grateful for having done that. So we were able to get his class in twice in February by doing that. And then at the end of February, we'd had a really unique offer to have this young man from the YMCA in Hanover come and perform a musical program that he had developed, trying to market it around the area locally and through Council on Aging, libraries, different things like that. So we had not seen, I had not seen him previously had just spoken to him, and it was a breath of fresh air, wasn't it?
Excellent.
So it was great for a winter day in particular, but any time of day, we'd love to get him back, I hope. He did some operatic tunes, which were just amazing, beautiful, and then some other theater numbers that were really, really worthwhile. So that we did have some people come in for. Otherwise, in my own role's been a little split in the absence of the activities coordinator still, so I'm trying to get things into the newspaper, and also was asked to supplement an article that was written by the reporter for the Mariner on the needs assessment, so I was able to do that. That had been in the March 5th edition. We do have a relocation coming up in April, so the library is, as most people know, planning to take over the Community Harbor building at 44 Jericho Road in May, but in April, as of April 10th, I believe, we will no longer have use of that, as they do get in to try to make some adjustments for them to be able to move in. So our classes that we now hold at the community building will be moved to St. Luke's. Unless we can put them here or decide to make some changes otherwise, but at this time, the space that we will have to use is St. Luke's according to the same schedule that we've been using the other building for. And we can still add things and use the building just the same way as we have with the community building. We just make the request now through the library as opposed to through the town offices. So it should work out. It's a great large hall, and then they do have some other smaller classrooms, but so we'll get by, and we may do more here if we can, or we may find some other space in town that's suitable for certain things. But they are making as many accommodations for us as they can, as we are losing that other space.
Well, that's wicked nice of them, very nice of them. They just-
It actually was worked into the budget for the library, was also where they were displacing us, that they would.
Oh, okay, so they're gonna get compensated. Is St. Luke's going to be compensated?
Yes, it's a
Oh, good.
contract.
Oh, that's
Right,
even
it's a
better.
contract
Yeah.
To
Good
use
for
their
them,
space.
good.
Well, as most everyone does know, by this time, the needs assessment study is complete, and now we have seen 2 presentations by UMass, one public and one for the Board of Selectmen in February. The report is online along with the appendix of the survey itself, so that is on the town website, situatema.gov, but then the Council on Aging Department, and it is a document link, so anyone can read the report. The entire report is there.
Since this is the outside, do you have some of the recording?
We do not.
Well, she's going to,
She's gonna-
take them from, she's
Oh,
gonna
from
do the
the-
notes from
yeah,
the
okay.
replay, and I told her that I would, help too. with
Okay, great,
Anything I could supplement.
thank you.
I didn't mean to ask. We did have, at the public presentation, we had about 55 or more people present in the audience, which I thought was a fair number. And the presentation itself went on for over half an hour, and then there were good questions following that some Jan was able to answer and some we fielded ourselves. So I hope people went away with an idea of what the study will do for the community and for us in general. So that's that part. This next week, which is St. Patrick's Day, I was reminded, I am showing a film here at the Senior Center, which wasn't in our newsletter, so I am trying to post that. It was in the Mariner this week, but it's called The Irish Pub. So I figured it's a good primer.
Is there gonna be any luncheon or any
Be a long
celebration?
thing.
No, just the film. I might bring my popcorn machine.
Yeah.
But then you could go out to lunch from here after that, downtown, with everybody else. But it really is nice. It's a newer film. It's a documentary, but it's really, really nice. It's set in Ireland, obviously. I have, the March-April newsletter was late. It was a tough month, February, even though it was short. I should have had time. But I have been in touch with we have a new account rep with Liturgical Publications that does our printing, and we are working on trying to increase the frequency of the newsletter if that's possible. Advertising is still an issue with that. So I do have a handout that shows what the cost of some of the ads would be if anybody did want to spread the word a little bit and get that out to some business owners that you might know. So I have that if anyone does want it, that we could discuss, and then I'll just be trying to talk to them about what I could do to make the newsletter a little bit more Yeah.
Question on that. Have you talked to the Chamber of Commerce to see if we get some of the businesses involved in that?
Well, I hadn't yet, and that is a good idea, even just to go to a meeting and talking
Sure.
about that to them, so that is a goal.
Or even like the Scituate Harbor?
Right, I know.
On the
Well,
Rotary?
Well,
Merchants, yeah.
what Liturgical does is they have a salesperson, and they are
Right.
supposed to make those calls
Yeah.
for us
So
outside of
folks-
us asking.
Yes.
But I'm not sure they've been able to make those connections,
Right.
so we could facilitate that a little bit.
I'm sure you'd get a lot of people that'd be interested.
I think so. So, one of the cancellations that we'd actually had to make twice was the legislative breakfast I was trying to plan with Representative Cantwell and also Garrett Bradley's office. He was not able to come initially, and so he was sending one of his office representatives, but he may now. We've rescheduled it again for Friday, April 24th. And instead of having it at Widows Walk, which was my plan, right now I'm planning to have it here as sort of more of a cafe, but I have in mind actually maybe checking with the Maritime Center and maybe thinking about having it there too, because that might be a draw. So it's a nice opportunity to hear what he knows about what's being debated at the State House, especially when it comes to some senior issues, but also overall, just knowing what he's involved in general, what our representatives have to say. So it's a good, at least an annual event to have people come in for.
Would you like at 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock?
9 o'clock.
9 o'clock.
On that one. So I didn't know if also you might just want a little rundown if you hadn't heard about how we managed the crisis of snow removal on our end and the help that we did receive. They were actually, we had these, this organization and these young men from Nahama. It's a Jewish response to disaster recovery. And normally they are all over the country cleaning up and helping out after floods, tornadoes, New Orleans, they were there, they were in Chicago after those floods, so they spend months sometimes helping people that have been devastated by certain disasters clean up. So,
Impressive.
so the way that happens, Sands was actually prominent in that because of a status that they've achieved as a community disaster relief organization. So then they were on a conference call with these national organizations, all nonprofit. And two of the guys happened to be from Milton and thought, and one lives in Milton, and thought, we would really like to help out our home area. So they were in touch with Kim from Sands, and then they came here to have a meeting, and we were able, actually because of sort of a, not really an error, but Salvation Army had actually called me and offered their services and said, if you could tell us ballpark how many people you have that need our help, then we could probably get some people down there. So we decided to send out one of the email broadcasts that goes through the town website, and overnight we set up a special line and answering machine message to do that. We got 50 people overnight. That increased to 80, but when the guys came in here, and they said this at the Board of Selectmen's meeting, we were prepared. We had a list. We actually said, well, this is the list we have. They haven't all been vetted, but they've all told us that they have these problems. And so they wanted to get right out. I mean, they wouldn't even have a muffin. They were ready to go. So they go out and they assess. So they have to get them to sign a waiver. They had to actually speak to each of the homeowners. But literally started that day removing snow. From that point and for 2 weeks, they did try to garner through their own networks. They both went to BC High. They went to that school. They had a friend who was the principal at Pembroke. They got kids, our own ASP, which Laura might have been helpful in connecting them with. They also volunteered. So they ended up having volunteers to help them over the course of those 2 weeks, but there were 3 guys in particular who were there every day for 2 weeks out. Having accomplished really snow removal at 50 homes out of 80. And the only reason the other 30 weren't done is because when they got there to assess either small number they couldn't help, but more often than not they'd been helped already by someone else. So they did touch 80 homeowners. So that was great, and that was just sort of how it all happened. So Nahama was their name. 2 other nonprofits had joined them at some point from that original call, and they were called All Hands, which is out of Mattapoisett, and Team Rubicon, which is national. I'm not sure where they're out of. So in addition to our own sort of community volunteers, they had help from these organizations too. So good to know moving forward. We hope they'll come back. They want to come back when it's warm.
The Sands group was really instrumental. To give credit also where credit is due, because, I forwarded an email to some of these folks, but, the Sands organization also got in touch with just about everyone in town by the time the email was,
Yeah,
sent out.
and they were looking for
Yeah.
volunteers to help them
Right.
out, that's right.
Right.
But yes, they originated the whole
Yeah.
thing.
I just like to give credit where credit is due.
Okay, so that is the crux of my report. I also have given you reports from both Laura and Jenny for outreach, and Laura actually goes on to talk a little bit about the storm and the post-storm follow-up, and the fact that our whole February was basically snow removal and fielding calls about snow removal. It actually continues, it has continued even into this week, funny enough. But, so you can take a look at that. And transportation naturally is also, again, way down because we did not put the vans on the road, for almost a couple of weeks, just because that was really not safe, getting seniors. Van service is curb to curb, not door to door. The drivers don't get out and go up to the walkway and help people out of their homes to the van, so we really can't guarantee that someone can get safely out of their house to the van. So that is that. That is my report.
I just have one question. Do we have Zumba Gold, Platinum, and Silver?
We have Zumba Gold, which is a modified Zumba. They have not yet elevated it to
Oh, okay.
platinum or silver. No.
gotta
Zumba
earn that.
Gold is a modified, slightly less high impact
Uh-huh.
Zumba. So
Oh, okay.
good for some of these old joints.
I never noticed before that it was,
I may not have
Described
heard it
as
before,
such.
but I decided to be accurate. It is Zumba Gold,
okay.
which is great.
Do the members have questions, comments for Linda on her report? Okay. We don't vote on the report.
No.
Joan, why don't you tell us what's happening with South Shore Elder Services? I know you guys did meet.
Well, South Shore LD Services met on March 3rd, and they had a legislation breakfast, which was very successful despite the weather. The weather was very bad, but it was successful. They're doing very much with the media, with the veterans outreach, and they're on Twitter, and they've been getting a lot of positive feedback about the work they're doing with the veterans. And then they also talked about making seniors aware when they go to the hospital, whether they're being admitted in the hospital or if they're just being in the observation visit. And I find this is a big thing that the Council of Aging can help, and health agencies can help these people because they don't realize if they go in, and it's only observation, and then they're sent to a nursing home, and they have to pay the bill. And a lot of
They haven't
seniors
qualified
aren't
for
aware of
Medicare.
it. So that's the big thing that they're trying to get the word out. They talked about the emergencies that they've been doing in the snow days and all, and they said the towns are very helpful, and every town they were in touch with the police, the Council of Aging, and the fire department, and other agencies. And Meals on Wheels, we had emergency meals go out, and we also had extra meals go out when days that we couldn't deliver them. They now have 117 employees, and they're going to have to need to increase because they're just growing. And everything is in good shape. And for all this, there are different activities that they do. They get sponsors, so usually it doesn't cost them anything. The sponsors usually pay the expenses. We always have a board program that talks about what's going on, a new training program or whatever they're doing with South Shore Elderly Services. And this was on the State Home Care Department, and Patty Owens was the one who gave us the program, and she's the nurse care manager. And I'll just tell you a little bit about it, and if you want to know more, I have extra material. The home care program is a state-sponsored program that provides case management and home care services to fixed-income elders who have functional needs. It provides this help at a very reasonable cost, which is determined by a state-established copay schedule. Services are arranged through contact providers, agencies, and include personal emergency response system, personal care, which is help with showering and other activities, homemaking, assisting with laundry, shopping, and meal preparation, transportation for medical appointment purposes. Service plans may also include attendance at adult day help or behavior health counseling. The state home care offers subsidized services to residents who are age 60 or over and who qualify based on income and unmet needs for services. Consumers who are under age 60 with diagnosis of Alzheimer's or a related dementia and have a caregiver in need of respite services may also be eligible. Their goal is to assist consumers to remain as independent as possible for as long as possible.
I will
John?
mention that,
Go ahead.
so if Laura or Jenny happens to meet one of these clients and may need to make that referral to social elder services, that's one way it will happen, and oftentimes it may be a B&A as well, someone who's already going in, and then they may also recommend that they receive those services, so they might call social elder.
So, Joan, does this have anything to do with that they have to be on Mass Health? You said it's a state program. Is it contingent on them having Mass
It goes by
Health?
their income, yeah, it does go by their income.
So, by the nature of being low income, they probably have Mass Health?
Not necessarily.
Probably,
Well, yeah, I'm trying to determine if, she's saying it's a state-funded program, so.
Shouldn't it be in place?
Right. They might be eligible for the program, but not be on Medicaid. Or Medicare.
Really?
It's probably a lot of factors.
Yeah.
Thank
So
you,
it's a
Joan.
separate entity then, it's a separate program that has nothing to do with Medicaid program?
Right.
Right,
It's social
Right.
elder services provided.
You can, people in
Which is
higher
state
income can
funded,
get
right?
services, but this is, comes under the state, and it's for mainly low-income people.
Okay, and so, but it's determined by the folks at South Shore Elder and the referrals as to whether they qualify.
It's really determined by the state.
Well, social elder services is a
Yeah.
state-funded
Oh, I realize that. yeah.
agency.
I realize that.
Okay.
I just, in conjunction with Mass Health, it's just, the Medicaid program is not. But, it's a moot point.
Thanks, Joan. Marty, you're a liaison, so the liaison updates.
Sure. Well, actually, I just wanted to just say a couple of words based upon with the assessment study coming out and everything. I just want everybody to know that the Board of Selectmen is on board with the new senior center, getting it forward. We want to, don't want to rush into anything. We want to see what the programs are as we discussed. And we're going to be having a meeting probably in the next week or so. And it probably would involve Linda Hayes as well as Dr. Price, John Danny and myself, just to kind of get an idea of where we're at as far as the subcommittees you guys are about ready to talk about, and things like that as far as getting sort of all of the ducks in a row, if you will. And just go step by step so that we can figure out exactly what the needs are. But I just want everybody to understand that we've discussed amongst ourselves, and everybody is on board with this senior center. We don't know if it's 20,000 feet, we don't know if it's 10,000 feet. We need to come up with that, but just want to make it clear that there isn't anybody that's against the senior center. And that's really all I have.
Well, that's good. That's good news. I mean, that's a good, positive.
Thank you for that.
What I
Thanks
want to
for
add about this with Dale's question is,
if you're under Medicare and you get services, you can't get custodial care without having the nursing care. See, this they can get custodian care
Okay.
without the nursing care. But if you're on Medicare and you have a nurse coming in, you get someone that helps you with washing, that type of thing, groceries. But once you don't need that, the nurse to come in and help you, then you lose that service. That's under Medicare.
Okay. Thank you. That clarifies.
Okay, moving on to discussion of subcommittees. I think I had emailed everyone earlier this month about what my thought on that was. And let me just kind of give you my thinking before we actually discuss how those subcommittees should be structured. The reason for the subcommittees was that I felt, and I think in talking to several of the members of the board, that we needed to have a little more fact-finding done than what has been done to this point, so that when the decision is made as to what and where the senior center is going to be, is being done with the absolute, best possible information. So in thinking about that a lot over the last month or so, my thought was that, the two main, areas, I guess, for that would be a physical facility and programming. And I think if we divide ourselves up with those two subcommittees in mind, and I would be happy to put this to a vote to see if everyone agrees, that we'll be able to come up with a lot of good information that maybe hasn't been brought to light so far. And that way, again, when the decisions are made, the decisions are being made, with the best possible information that we could have gotten, whether that be more professional information. I know that there's that proposal of August 19th, I guess, that has not been acted upon yet, from Durkee Brown to do a thing with a $10,000 additional look at developing, I think it reads, 2 potential plans for gates and 1 standalone plan. So I guess my understanding is, I don't think that has been,
As far as I know, nothing.
that has not been awarded.
Correct.
I don't know whether the board intends to do that or not. And I'm not sure where the initiation of that proposal came from Durkee Brown, why they felt the need to have anything additionally studied. But anyway, I just think that's the kind of information that we need, and hopefully the board does agree to fund that. Again, it was just under $10,000.
Well, Gordon, just answer that. So, I mean, basically, what they're looking at is you get the assessment side of things coming back. Now you have to take someone who's an architect and try to look at the assessment part of it, trying to put those, basically put those numbers to work in a certain way. So, I mean, I think that was the whole idea behind it.
Okay.
So.
Right, good. And why don't we, I got quite a few more things I want to mention on the subject. Maybe before I do, maybe we should discuss amongst ourselves whether you all think that the 2 subcommittees are a good idea or not. And if they're not, fine, we'll do it some other way. Or if you think they are, then maybe we can go forward with it. So I'd be happy to hear what other people think about that. So.
I think the programming, definitely, the programming will help determine, space and whatever else we need. So we definitely should start with programming.
I just have a comment about it, Gordon. So the programming and the physical facility, you were thinking 2 separate subcommittees?
Yeah.
But one really feeds the other. I mean, the programming part of it
Yes.
is going to basically determine the
yes.
physical.
Yes, it does determine
Yeah. Yeah,
the
without a
space
doubt.
that we need,
Well,
yeah.
frankly, I sort of disagree on that. Really, we want space. We want as much space as we can get, and then we design programming into that space, and programming evolves, it changes with every few years. We know we need certain things, and we know what we do now. We want to move in, and we want to be able to do much more than we've been able to do now. The idea that, yes, programming is almost, it's perpetual. So it's not so stagnant that you would say, well, you just need this, this, and this. So that's my only comment, is that really, if you have the space, you will fill it. We know we want to give so much space, and then there's a design factor, of course, that would go along with that. But that's just, it isn't really that we need to know the programs first. We want to be educated, and everybody should understand what kinds of things
I agree
we
with
might
Martha.
do there. That's all.
I mean, you could look at it both ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The chicken and the egg argument. I think you can
We need to
valid either way.
project
You know-
forward on stuff that's going to change.
Mhm.
So,
I just want to make a comment, though. I usually go into New York and Brooklyn, and I visit the senior center there, and someone had very elaborate ideas, and there's this very high ceiling, but there's so much space
Right.
that was wasted, and so their programs are so limited. I mean, they have like one classroom, so the people that are taking the next class wait outside, so, you know,
What are we doing with
So
that?
we.
and maybe because I'm coming from programs where I did it all my life, you know, I'm
Well, I
I'm
think-
wondering.
Yep, Jan mentioned a word, I think she mentioned adjacency, I think that was the word she used to describe the idea that, well, and ideally, and we all want that, you can have simultaneous activities operating
Well,
next
you
to each
should
other.
be
You can
able
have
to,
meetings
yeah.
going on, you can have exercise classes, you can have lunch, you can, things are happening so that it is well designed to support that idea.
Instead of the way that it is now, the activities being dispersed all over the town, you know, and it's good that we have use of the Harbor Community Building, and I'm not even talking about St. Luke's, but, you know, badminton at Jenkins and so on and so forth, and, you know, the adjacency issue, if we could have everything, at least not under the same roof, but in the same area, you know, and I mean, you know, even on the newsletter, we have to denote, you know, at the bottom, you know, this is an asterisk of the activities over at the Harvard Community Building and so on and so forth. And it works for now because, you know, Linda's making it work, you know, the space issue, you know.
You know, my intention is not to, you know, upend or usurp or overstep the boundaries of the COA or me in particular, you know, in doing these two things, or, you know, Linda's, you know, ability to come up with a lot of these ideas also, but I just think, to me, you know, it's gonna be an expensive proposition in one way or the other, and we might as well spend our money the best way we can spend it, and the more information we have to make the right decision, to me seems, you know, worthwhile, so. You know, I'm not, it's not that I'm unhappy with what the town has done, or what, you know, but I just think that there's maybe a little bit more that could be done to help to make the right decision, so that was my thinking.
Committee meetings, committees are always good. I had proposed these at one time, and we started to talk about it some meetings ago, and it could have actually been before some came on the board. So I have this handout, which I can just pass out if it helps, and then you can add the other committees if you decide to be on them, if it helps, I don't know. Those are some that we talked about, because oftentimes there are other things. So right now on that, I didn't put programs or, I mean, the other idea could even go into long-range planning and advisory, you know, that's something that could be a standing committee.
Because before some of the new members came on board, we all did respond to this, but I think the issue at hand, I don't know, I think the issue at hand is the senior center. You know,
My suggestion
yes,
is, I
I agree.
think, you know, I think there's some good things here, my suggestion is we start with these two for now.
Mm-hmm.
We do have limited resources amongst us, and, you know, we'll be back to full complement, I think, when our snowbirds are back, so, but, you know, if you all see fit, then I think we start with these two and expand it as we need to expand it. I'd be happy to entertain a motion to move forward with the two committees if you think that would be appropriate.
I think that'd be appropriate.
You're making the motion?
Yes, I will make a
Okay.
motion.
Someone will
I
second it?
second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I know JD has already expressed to me, you know, in terms of the two committees, he'd be happy to help on the physical facilities, as I would too. And somebody responded to me about programming.
Oh, I did, but you know, I'd be happy to help.
On either or both.
Well, my first choice is the programming.
Okay.
But if they
There was
need help
somebody else
on the other
also.
committee, I'd be happy to help.
Okay, all right, great.
My first choice would be programming.
Okay, super. Let me tell a few of the things that I've been involved with the last few days, in addition to trying to get some work done in my office. I did visit.
That's fallen by the wayside.
Yeah, it sure has. You begin to wonder whether I'm really still part of the practice here. I did visit Marshfield Center on, I believe it was Monday. I spoke with Carol Hamilton, very nice lady, woman, who was very kind to show me around, spend some time with me, talk about their center, talk about where they came from. Very interesting, they came from a one-room schoolhouse in town hall, much like, we're functioning. And went through, the exhaustive studies to get to where they are. They have about a 12,500 square foot facility now. Very, very nice. Was built, I believe, 2005.
Yeah, 10 years,
Yeah.
10 years ago, yeah, 'cause I went to the 10th year.
So their senior population is a little bit larger than ours, probably, I think, about 1,000 more than us. I asked her, I said, how's the facility working for you? She said, it's too small. They're putting in a proposal within the next probably year to expand to about another 3,000 or 4,000 square feet. They have room where they are to do that. But it was very interesting to see, because it was only other center I've been in other than this one, to see, how a well-planned out center can be organized with meeting rooms, staff rooms for people like Linda and their staff. And then the ability to have a large room, which they can divide off, like we can do here, to have a couple of activities going on at the same time.
Did you experience shock and awe when you walked through the door?
Just a little bit.
It's a usual reaction.
Yeah, I'm putting together a little montage with my camera. I can take snapping around pictures every time I turn something. I asked them if it was okay if I took pictures. And they said yes, so I'll put together a little thing. Maybe we'll view it sometime. Interestingly, as you walk into their lobby, nice lobby. There's a gas fireplace, I think, going, some chairs, couches, and then they have a store. And I said, where do you buy your items? She said, we don't buy our items. They're items that are being made by various people around town. She said, you need to have one of these in your facility. She said, it will bring you a significant amount of money. I thought that was kind of interesting. So then on Tuesday morning, I went to Duxbury and met with Joanne Moore, also very cordial, very, very nice lady. I know that Linda worked with Joanne, I guess, for a number of years, right? Yeah. Their facility is just off the main road. There are 3 A's going down to Kingston. You can see it from the road now that the trees are all leafed out, or are not leafed out, I should say. Their facility is about 13,000 square feet. Much different feel than the Marshfield Center.
Actually, Marshfield was sort of based on Duxbury, but made their changes. The Duxbury was definitely a prototype for that, and then they decided on different things.
Yeah. Very nice, again, very well thought out. About 80, they're pushing, I think, close to 100 parking places. Marshfield's tight on parking. They're trying to get another little piece of land that's owned by the town, I think adjacent to them, that is shared with ball fields and stuff, to have some additional parking there. So they really need another 30, 40 parking places to bring it up to about 100, whereas Duxbury has, I think, 80 or 85.
Duxbury's was done in 2 phases, so at first they only had 50 spaces, and even written into the not written into the plan, but it was known that at some point they might need to expand, which they then did.
Yeah.
So then they got 100 spaces.
In Duxbury, I believe, I'm mixing them up, is not utilized. No, Duxbury is utilized in the second floor. Marshfield is not yet. Marshfield, also in addition to expanding, they want to finish off the upstairs so they can have use of the upstairs as well. Yesterday morning, I went to Cohasset. Thought it was open. The door was, but there wasn't a lot of activity going on inside yet, although the school is using some of the office space in the new Cohasset Center. Cohasset Center is very, very nice. I like the design of it. I like the exterior too. I think it's a little more, I don't know, more in keeping with the setting, which was very nice. But in Cohasset, they hope to be moving in. I think the woman from the school board told me, I think not May, well, in a couple months anyway. It's not quite finished. There's still a few things to do. But again, nice meeting, nice private areas for dealing with seniors who have issues that need to be dealt with privately. A big open area that can be divided, I think, into 3 different sections. Nice, all the facilities have beautiful dining rooms with nice kitchens, fully equipped kitchens with walk-in freezers. Both Marshfield and Duxbury serves meals, I think, Monday through Thursday, and Marshfield is Monday through Friday. Interestingly, Duxbury does rent out their meeting room space very, very often during the course of the year and brings in a considerable amount of money. A lot of the sports facilities, sports groups, teams, when they have their senior banquets or junior varsity banquets, or a lot of the sports teams will utilize them. Some of the other organizations in the town also utilize the Duxbury facilities for that. Whereas Marshfield, I don't think they do. They pretty much close down at 4:30, 5 o'clock. Whereas Duxbury is quite active, not so much necessarily with senior activities, but with other people using the facility. And they said they bring in quite a bit of funds to do
Well, again,
that.
I made that comment last month when Karen made that assessment when the committee, the Public
Yeah.
Facilities Master Plan Committee had erroneously assumed that either they must have gone by at one particular night, but that it's almost never
Yeah.
dark and empty, so that.
This is a good one for Marty. Marty, I don't know how they pulled it off, but the Marshfield Senior Center, once it was built, didn't have a janitor for 8 years. I guess they had volunteers doing the janitorial, work inside. They now have a funded
It's
janitor.
a big space.
Yeah, so she said, make sure that, whatever happens in Scituate, that you've got, you've got funding for janitorial services.
They have tons of volunteers.
They do.
Marshfield has a million
They do
volunteers.
too, yeah.
They function almost, it's incredible the amount of volunteers that help.
Yeah, I remember Joanne at Duxbury said, I think they have like over 200
Mhm.
volunteers doing various things in the center there in Duxbury. I know Marshfield also is very dependent on volunteers. I tried to get a few minutes with the veterans agent. Last week, he was tied up and I have not been able to meet with him yet, but I would like to sit down with the veterans agent and talk with him a little bit. We've kind of kicked around and we've heard ideas, talked about combining resources, and certainly veterans in Duxbury does have a veterans agent office in their building.
Okay.
I don't think Marshfield did, but Duxbury does. So I will meet with the veterans agent, whose name escapes me right now, but.
Howard?
Don.
Don Knapp?
Thank you,
Yeah.
Don Knapp, right.
And there are, as you probably already know, there are grants available through the
Yeah.
Veterans Administration.
Right, so we definitely want to look into that, yeah. I did meet yesterday with, at the end of the day, with Chris Roberts, Recreation Committee Chairman. Talked about some similarities that we're facing and some of what their issues are, and had a nice exchange of ideas with Chris. So we'll definitely continue that. And I think it was Joanne that mentioned to me, the director at Duxbury, and, I've known it, and I think everyone here knows it. The best way to pull this off so that we have a good result at the end is so that we're all working together. We talked about that, and Joanne said, by all means, you've got to get everyone kind of marching in the same direction at the same time. Make sure that you're talking to people like the Rotarians and Knights of Columbus and the Chamber of Commerce and Recreation, because those alliances can be very helpful. So we certainly will continue to work on that. So that's kind of been where I've been at the last week or so. There are a couple of other centers I would like to visit. Joanne gave me a great big list of centers she thought would be nice to visit. And some still local, Rockland, I think.
Yeah, Rockland's very
And
new.
the process of maybe, is it completed?
Yep.
It is, okay. I think she knows which will be East Bridgewater and a couple of others. So, there's some others I think that we can look at. And anyone who wants to help on the, JD and anyone else who wants to help on the physical facility. I think that's a nice part of, maybe that responsibility for that committee is to get out and look at some centers. I think so many times, I hear comments from people in my office or outside of my office somewhere, who say, oh, well, you only need 6,000 square feet, or you only need this, or the seniors only need that. Well, I suspect most of those people have never stepped into a senior center of the 21st century. And we'll talk about that in a little bit here in terms of thoughts I've come up with because of the UMass survey. And it's not like senior centers were probably 10 years ago. So there are needs for centers now that weren't necessary maybe 10 years ago, but they're there now. So the more of us that become familiar with with the center. I know some of you have visited other centers, and I think that's great. Hopefully we get, people from the board and maybe our town administrator to get out and do a couple of other centers too. We could do a little, draw in a van one day and go traipse around eastern Massachusetts visiting centers. But I think it would be a great learning experience. So.
Is Plymouth the newest one that was built?
Which one?
Plymouth?
Not anymore. I mean, it is
Rockland.
new,
I mean,
but
in the area,
Yeah.
South Shore. I think it's the newest, no?
No, Rockland and Quasit are.
Oh, that's true,
Cohasset
Cohasset.
open.
East Bridgewater is newer, and Hanover, almost maybe. Plymouth is new, it's been there 3 years
For a
now.
while.
Yeah.
Rockland's just opened, maybe about 6 months ago.
Yeah.
Because my mother lives in Rockland, and she once said to me, "Oh, I'll never see," quote unquote, "I will never see a new senior center." And they were in an old school in Rockland Center. And she thinks she's gone to heaven, really, And I made her eat her words. I said, "Ma, you said you'd never see a new senior center." And it
Yeah.
happened. I mean, it happened. And
Yeah,
Rockland,
also might be a nice place to go to would be Kingston. Because Kingston came from a terrible space.
oh, yeah.
Yeah. I think
And
Joanne-
into a very nice new space adjacent to town hall.
Uh-huh.
I'd be curious about how they're doing.
Mhm. Okay. This is the list that Joanne gave me, which has 3, 6, 9 facilities on it. Well, Kingston is the 10th one, right? I've not been to any of these yet. So I'm sure I won't get out to Holyoke or probably Belmont.
No.
Maybe not even though the names are Barnstable, but.
No, I might add, though, that the Friends have toured quite a few.
Yes.
facilities,
Right.
Right.
And they have pictures and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm not sure that in some cases, although my preference is to be on the program committee, why we would need to duplicate some of their efforts.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
maybe their resources could be given to the,
Yeah.
Dr. Price?
Yes.
I've got another question I better take off.
Okay, Marty, good. Thank
Take
you.
care.
Thank
bye,
you.
Marty.
So, yeah, but, in some of it was just under my own
Oh, yeah, oh, no, that's why I asked
education,
you.
because
yeah.
I've never seen another one other than what we have here, so it's nice to know what other towns have done. So, all right, so let me just, I think I can throw this in under this first. I want to thank Linda for putting together with Jan Mushler, the meeting yesterday, which I thought was very well attended. It was kind of trying to get numbers. It was from around 55, 60 people, which I thought was a nice attendance. And I'm sure maybe there'll be other opportunities, although I'm not sure if that's going to be necessary to have that done again. But these are my takeaways, and I'd be interested to know if some of you took away the same thing. It seems to me like the huge results of the survey were really skewed a lot toward issues with transportation and with help for caregivers also. Talk about that a little bit. Transportation in this town, I don't, hopefully maybe, Q Cutler can maybe look into some potential, options for, transportation. It's funny, I talked to, maybe it was somebody at the meeting yesterday that was going on. I thought, nice if somebody just opened up a business, had a couple of vans or something to scoot around town, but I'm sure there are all kinds of huge liability issues
Rules
and
and
probably
regulations.
regulations and everything else. So maybe the days of somebody opening up a little transportation business in a town are gone, but maybe, we can look into see what.
Yeah.
If what?
Uber.
Uber, yeah. If through, contacts that we might be able to have with the T to see if there's anything that we can possibly do that might even closely approximate maybe what Hingham has. But I think Hingham has some. And I've seen buses going through, MBTA buses going through Hingham. I don't know if there's a routine route there. Or if there's
I don't know. Are you thinking of the ride, but are you seeing a little?
Oh, I know of the
So it's
ride.
different than the buses are different than the.
Yeah, but the
I don't-
ride is by appointment. And I'm just thinking of something that
I don't know about any
You know,
public.
if everyone knew that between Greenbush
I know.
and North Scituate, there was a vehicle that was gonna be going from one to the other 4 times a day or something, or on a schedule, yeah.
I just
so-
wanted, I just wanted to say that the planning, I've been watching the most recent planning board meeting on Channel 9, and they're just tossing around ideas, and one of the ideas that they're tossing around is, they're in the suggestion phase, is having, the vehicles that are used like to bus people in the St. Patrick's Day parade around town, and pickup spots.
Oh.
Mhm.
I don't, what do you call it? It's not a
Trolley?
duck boat. Yeah,
Trolley.
trolley, thank you. To have the trolleys, but all the time. This is just a planning committee board idea, and they're in, and have these trolleys going around town in the good and decent weather as a mode of transportation.
Hmm.
So, you know, and then they moved on, they're just brainstorming ideas. So I thought, well, gee, that's a good idea, you know, to get people from, you know, to a shop in North Scituate or to the whatever, and they can wave as they.
And I guess I need to add too, and maybe JD, I'm sure encounters this all the time in his work, but the issue that, you know, there are a lot of people who have lived here in Scituate for many, many years, want to stay here in Scituate, but don't necessarily feel that they need to be in a 3,000 square foot or 4,000 square foot house when they're 60 or 65 years old. And if there were other living options that were available to them, that, you know, that would be something that, you know, it might be sorely needed in the town also. So, you know, to me, it came down to transportation, living options, and you know, it's sometimes referred to as respite care. You know, and I think it was in Duxbury?
Yes.
It was Duxbury, because Joanne, yeah, took me into the room where there was some respite care going on there. And, I don't remember how many.
It's a social day program,
Right,
but it is
right.
respite care for the.
You know, and that gives the people who are the caregivers a break. And so, you know, as I would hope that as we would plan our center and as we would plan our activities, that we could work something like that into, you know, into our center. I think that would be a great opportunity. So, but, you know, so those were kind of my, oh, and I thought it was very interesting. I kind of put this in quotation marks, so I assume that Jan Muchler said this, but I think she said something like, you know, a community center, a senior center is really a community responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, well, that really struck home with me. And, you know, so for the naysayers who, you know, don't think that the seniors deserve or should have something like that, I mean, it is a responsibility. The seniors in this
Mhm.
town and other towns have been, you know, contributing and supporting to all the other issues that have come up for vote and have voted for them. So, you know, that responsibility for the community is there so that, you know, the seniors, you know, have the kind of facilities that they need too. And they should, I think it was also, Jan said, you know, it's really a quality of life issue. So, you know, it's neat to think that a person would want to come to the center rather than sitting at home watching the TV.
Right.
That they could come down and sit in front of a fireplace on the sofa with a few other men or women and just talk.
Social interaction.
Right.
Wonderful.
And that's so important, I think, as people get older. I know, I find that I need it more. So I imagine most people do too. So, you know, I don't know how we get that message across to the naysayers. Maybe we'll never convince the naysayers.
Slow but sure,
but-
for a while.
Huh?
Slow but sure.
Yeah, yeah. So, you know, there is a responsibility there, and hopefully, I think most people are of the bent now that they're willing to, you know, assume that responsibility. So anyway, those are my thoughts on the, maybe I should have done the new business. Anyone else, while we're talking about the survey or the.
No, I just like to say, I speak from the voice of experience with my mom, who's 100, and just until a few months ago, she was going to the senior center to do a job, you know, like put coffee cups out, and that was her purpose. And so she had purpose and she had socialization. And to me, from my experience, that's so, it's key. It's key when you get older. So.
Okay, do you
I
wanna add
concur.
to anything?
No, I don't have anything to add, necessarily that.
Linda or anyone?
Those of us working in the industry have seen it change people's lives. So
Yeah.
absolutely, and it is programming, it is trying to find something that meets everyone's needs, and if you get them through the door, which was also spoken about, it may be for one purpose or one activity or just one need, and then they see what else we can do, or what else they could do, and that is the hope, and that's why having things going on simultaneously increases participation across the board.
When you're limited to
I
one room.
I think one of the most important points, I don't think that the survey told us a lot of things that we who used the center didn't know. Thank you, exactly. The one thing that impressed me was the respite care, the caregivers, concerns for the caregiver, because they need a relief in their daily schedule. For the caregiver themselves needs to be considered, and the person they're caring for could benefit greatly. I'm not a therapist or a clinician, but I'm sure that the person who needed the care would benefit greatly from
The socialization.
Exactly.
And, yeah,
So it would be a
absolutely.
win-win, and I think they need just as much consideration, the caregivers need as much consideration as the seniors, those of us who will be going to the seniors. And that impressed me, that came out of the survey, which
Yeah.
I think the other, oh, go ahead. The other thing I think was important was the percentage of seniors in the town. And I think that will be a very good selling
Mhm.
point when people realize the percentage and the fact that it's going to be growing every year. It's a large population.
Yeah.
I was sort of thinking what a large percentage, and it's like a voting block too, you know?
It
It's a
is a-
block of voters
it is a
that.
voting block.
Yeah, I mean, in Rockland,
Well,
that's how,
right, it is.
an override got voted, you know, for town funds to, because they rallied the seniors in Rockland, and it's a huge voting block everywhere now because of the boomers, and that was what I was thinking about when I said the percentage.
And I did ask both Carol and Joanne at the Marshfield Duxbury Centers, because they came from similar, physical facilities and had, the kind of numbers, I think, they're pretty much like we have in terms of activity. I said, and what happened when you moved into this new center? They both said, are you kidding? We went from, 250 or 300 regular kind of, contacts to, that I think both are well over 1,000, 12, 1,300 people who are,
I believe that.
there are more than that, but I mean, people who are using it like daily, who are coming in like every day. Not 1,000 people every day, but, what Linda just said is, it has been borne out. If the facility is there, it has the programming, and it has the appeal for people to come to it, they're gonna come to it. I mean, I think it was 60% in the survey, 60% of the people who were 60 and over said that they would consider, I think it was, they would,
Yes, there was something
there was like 20% that said, yes, we definitely will, and there was 60% that said, we would definitely consider, activities at the senior center. So there's no doubt that, that the numbers are gonna be there for people to utilize the facility. It happens, it's not magic.
Build it and they will come.
Yeah.
How many times have we heard that in the past
Yeah.
year?
I did pick up each of their,
Oh, their newsletter, the newsletter from Marshfield.
One of them does have apparently paid, Marshfield's does have some ads, but
They all have ads.
Duxbury's does not. I don't know
Yeah.
if Duxbury ever did or not, but, yeah, they don't now, which is,
Maybe it's a bad month.
I have
yeah,
it.
I don't know. But
The salesman couldn't get to that.
their newsletters are very similar to ours.
Well, that's because I did Duxbury.
Yeah.
That's what I do now.
Yeah, okay. All right, that's all I have on that issue, or topic, I guess I should say, I think. Yeah.
So now we'll go to old business?
Yeah, I guess maybe that was new business, so.
Oh, that's okay.
Do we have some old business to,
Well, I'm gonna be like a broken record. Is there any chance of us getting a computer teacher? Linda, or?
I can get a computer teacher anytime, and I will. But at this point, with maybe an upgrade on computers here, we need wireless to do the iPad training. I was going to use the community Harper building, but the wireless, we're losing that. And so right now, I have some high school kids who want to do it that we need access. So it's more the fact that I haven't necessarily had the facility to be able to do that. So I have a
Oh,
I haven't
okay.
scheduled that.
Okay, because we used to have a computer teacher. He just came in here and used these computers, but he was working on a grant money, yeah.
Well, I mentioned both facilities, Duxbury and Marshfield. Marshfield especially, a very extensive, large room, computer room. Duxbury's was much smaller, many fewer units, and I don't know if I asked Carol at well, she said, yeah, it is used, she's not sure it's being used to its full capacity. And Joanne said something interesting, she said, people seem to be using the computers a little bit less because they're coming in with iPads now and iPhones and things that they can get information on other than by sitting at a computer. So she said it's still utilized. Oh, and also one thing that all two did, and I know Cohasset did, I saw the screen, have really very, I don't know, I better not use that word, to have a negative connotation, a very sophisticated AV equipment in most of the rooms. That all the meeting rooms had nice big flat screen TVs, and the large, I don't know, not meeting room, but the large room had a huge pull down screen. So if you're showing some information on screen to a large group, there was a big screen that pulled down. So that's all been incorporated in their design and their planning and execution. So it was neat to see that they had incorporated the latest technology in them too. Also, I forgot this. I have talked to Kim Bennett, and I think I talked to Kim Bennett just about an hour and a half ago. Kim has agreed to come, in front of us at some point and just kind of give us her take and her thoughts on the whole senior issue. And I think Kim would be a wealth of knowledge. That's what and we've got a man sitting here next to us who's been basically involved in a similar kind of situation. I just never paid attention to under your name, JD, what you did. But I think even sometime we could have JD on the program to talk about his take on what he sees and what he views as senior needs. But so Kim is willing to do that. This was also very interesting. I'll forget this. We're back on the new business. There was a fax meeting at the library a couple nights ago that I attended.
Last week, yeah.
Yeah, this week.
Oh.
Yeah,
okay.
Wednesday night, I think. What's it,
Last
Thursday?
Thursday.
No, Monday, it might have been. I don't know, mix up all these places I'm going. But anyway, John Kimmett, who lived here, still lives here in Scituate, had a business actually on Front Street for a good number of years in the space where my office is, spoke. And John's very involved he's in rehab, long-term recovery. Not a secret, he puts it on his card, he speaks about it very openly. I think maybe having John come sometime to just talk about his interest and how maybe his interest could be blended in with our interest also. They're looking for this, it's called personal and long-term recovery, or that's on his card. But there's a different name for it. They're trying to find a physical facility, doesn't it, a meeting room where they can help counsel people in a community who maybe are a little embarrassed to go to their primary care doctor or something, and they would feel more comfortable talking to another person who's in recovery and who's been through a recovery process and does this all the time. So I kind of just approach John a little bit, almost sort of like the veterans agent sort of melding that we could possibly put together. So this organization, I guess it's an organization, because they do have these, it's not a drop-in facility, it's not a, it's not like there would be, people say, well, we don't want a bunch of drug addicts hanging around the senior center. It's not that at all. It's a very low-key, one-on-one kind of, assistance that is kind of out there to help people who really just need some assistance, maybe they're in kind of a really uncomfortable situation, not in like crisis mode, but people just need that sort of help. And
Doesn't that fall under Laura?
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe
I wonder if
further
Laura-
down the
I wonder if
line.
Laura's aware of that.
Yeah.
But
Maybe
I
she
can-
does.
I can leave you John's information, and he, when he spoke the other night at the library, he said, we'd love to find something, it doesn't big or elaborate, we just need a little space somewhere where we can do
We've
our
agreed
work.
to, we have agreed to lend out this space on a weekend day monthly for
Uh-huh.
a related situation for a family support group type of a
Yeah,
thing. for,
yeah, yeah.
So, I mean, that is the idea. It sounds more like a space need as opposed to a program.
Right, I think.
Yeah, oh yeah, not program,
Combination,
no,
but-
no,
so-
no, yeah, so, maybe that would be another little feature, I don't know, but, we'll
Do you know where he meets now with his clients?
see. I don't.
Just curious.
I'm not sure that it would necessarily, fit in with talking at a board meeting. I think like JD just mentioned, sort of comes in correlation with
Well, yeah.
Laura and
Yeah.
Linda,
Yeah, okay, yeah, I agree.
Or further down the line when we're getting closer to the goal of,
Right.
this.
Right, okay.
But,
Well, I'll stay in touch with John, and, as we develop our thoughts and our,
or maybe you should refer him to Linda, to Laura.
Uh-huh.
And then between Laura and Linda, they might be able to assist him now,
uh-huh.
if
okay.
they were willing to
Who would be the
meet
best
on a
one?
weekend day.
Who would be the best one, Linda, to,
I would start with me.
okay, all right, fine, okay,
Maybe something for, get started now to help them out.
okay. All right.
And I forgot to bring up under new business also. I had sort of run this idea by Dr. Price, but we're having all these wonderful speakers, which is great, we always have had speakers at the board meetings, but to have possibly 2 seniors talk to us about what they would like, how seniors who use the center now, maybe not 5 days a week or every program that's offered, but who make use of the center either through programs that they participate in or through volunteering, maybe waitress at a luncheon, somebody 2 people who could talk, two current seniors who could talk about what they think of the current senior center and what they would like to see in the future senior center. Now, of course, they don't have to speak about, show up with architectural plans but, I mean, we're listening to everybody, and why shouldn't we listen to 2 seniors, That-
Well, we represent the seniors, so
Exactly.
presumably we do know and have them right here. But I think some of the speakers have been
I'm a senior.
education for the board, more education for the board so that they sort of know the areas of concern that we have. That's I think what we were trying to do, but not
Well, I
to
mean,
say that wouldn't be useful.
we've always had speakers, Linda, even before you came on board as director of the SCOA. But I just thought to get a feeling from a senior, Pat, if you want to, that's fine, that's great, because I know you volunteer, I don't know if you go to any of the programs.
I do.
Okay, so that could be a senior's viewpoint and another senior's viewpoint. I mean, we're getting everybody's viewpoint, why not people who use the facility? We represent them, but why not hear it?
I don't have any problem putting that on the agenda for next month.
Pardon me?
I don't have any problem putting that on the agenda for next month, if you have a couple of people you'd like to recommend.
Well, I have one now and I have somebody else too that is,
Okay.
I run the idea by.
Okay.
And you don't have to have a script, you don't have to have architectural plans, but, and also for the benefit of the viewing audience. Hello, everybody. That, to hear a senior's point of view, directly from a senior. So, you want to make a motion? Or do we have to have a
We have
motion
to have
for
a
that?
motion for that?
They do not
Oh,
have-
we don't think so?
Okay, I'm gonna maybe take, if there's such a thing as chairman's privilege, because I meant to add this, to have Linda add this to the agenda today, but I didn't in town, so, unless someone objects to it, is there someone from, I'd like to, I'd like to know that, and I'd like the Friends to know that they have an open communication channel with us, even though the Friends in Scituate are not organized in the same way as maybe the Friends have been organized in other towns, but that doesn't mean that we can't, be working toward the same goal. And I think we all do want to work toward the same goal. So, I'd like to, have them be able to address or speak to at our meetings. And it was my intention to have put you on the meeting for tonight, but you're not. So, unless somebody objects, I'll add you now. So, if I know that there's at least one person from the Friends, if not maybe more, who'd like to give us what the Friends are up to and what you're.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. Well, I did take Maura Curran to see Weymouth.
You what?
I took Maura Curran to visit Weymouth
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
Senior Center, which Weymouth is probably really what we don't want to ever see. It's an elementary school, and what they did is painted the walls and put new carpet in the director's office, and that was the extent of it. And as we walked in the door, she did say to me, Situate's not going to have this. And until we got to the office, that's what she kept saying to me, Situate's not going to have this. They've taken an old elementary school, they have a gym, and off the gym they have a kitchen that is got in it all of people's old appliances in it. It works for them, but they don't prepare meals. If they have any meals at all up there as a function, they set up the tables in the gym, and it's a caterer that comes in. She did say that the drawback to the building, the director did, because I talked to her before we went up, said that they have no way, they don't have these sliding walls, so they can't open rooms up to make it into a big room. It's all little rooms. They have a lot of good programs, the woman did say, and she was from Stoughton herself, so she was able to, this was in Weymouth, so she was able to discuss and tell Maura a little bit about what shouldn't be. She was adamant about no community type senior center. And I did talk to the Veterans Office that's in the Weymouth building, and it works out very nicely for them because they can go to outreach that we have and talk to them about some of their veterans that need outreach, and outreach in return comes back to the veterans. So that is, to them, that would be a fantastic idea. They have a pool room that a couple of places have said to us no, and she said yes, by all means. It attracted the men in, and that was something that a lot of the places have had a problem with, having a pool table.
Cohasset and Marshfield.
Cohasset has one. Cohasset has one upstairs.
Marshfield does not.
I think Cohasset put theirs upstairs, a pool table.
Yes, it is upstairs.
Yeah. Then we went to Rockland, and Peg talked to her in Rockland. She felt Rockland was very warm, welcoming, like a home to seniors, and they have that lounge with the fireplace like they do in Duxbury and in Marshfield. She was very impressed with it. On the way back, we talked, and there are different plans that she told me about.
Excuse me, Joanne, was Maura Curran with you? Is this who was with you?
Yes.
Oh,
This was Maura Curran and me.
That's great,
Yes.
that's what we want.
I had thoughts, and she is the newest selectman, and also because she's coming up for election again, that she might like to see some of the centers, and I don't mind saying that on TV. And this gave her an opportunity to see what we have seen that we see shouldn't be. Weymouth is just like being in a school. It has still the acoustic tiles above the lockers.
How long, Joanne, have they been in that facility, would you say?
Quite a while.
Okay.
Quite a while. That is a long time. They share it with the municipality. And Recreation shares it on at nights and weekends, and they have a problem with storage. And I had originally been told with taking care of the facilities. Rockland does not have the veterans in it. And Rockland was told by the town administrator that they did not want her renting it out like she would have liked to because of the wear and tear on the senior center. And they didn't want that much. And this I found with Mashpee. Mashpee's building was 10 years old and it looked brand new. And it's because they don't, it's just strictly seniors. And in Mashpee, they have two friends. They have the Friends of the Council on Aging, and they're in charge of a thrift shop that has been built separately from the building. And then they have the Friends, and the Friends are the ones that bought the rooms and did different things, or raised the funds for each one of the rooms and dedicated them. Rockland, they went out and they asked like Sullivan Tire if they'd take a room. A doctor took a room, and they totally did the room. When they went in, they just went in for the building in the town, nothing else. And then they put out advertisements to have different organizations come in and buy a room and decorate it and furnish it to cut down on their costs. And that's why. And Rockland's is 9,000 square feet. It's still smaller than ours. And at first Maura said, gee, this is small, but then she said, it's really not small when you think about the fact of the size of Rockland seniors. Parking is great over there. They have plenty of parking. It is a nice, simple center, and all the utilities are in the attic. So this was something else that, you know, has been raised in front of me. So that's what the Friends are doing right now. We're still waiting on the 501(c)(3). Federal government said 3 months. We go in on the 23rd of this month, will be 2 months. And I've not heard back from them, which if they had questions, they were gonna get back to me.
So that's a good sign if there are no questions, right?
No questions so far, so that means that we're
That's a good sign.
still moving on. You know, that's where we are right now. We haven't had a meeting lately because like, we wanted them to go to the needs assessment meeting and hear what had to be said there. We have had a board of directors meeting to cover a few things that we felt the board needed to do before we had a full meeting again. So, and we're looking for 2 people to be on the board because we've had 2 people. One being Florence has moved out of town and feels now it's too much for her to come back and forth to Scituate.
I also did have I did have a conversation for about an hour with Maura Curran. Maura?
Maura.
I'm sounding right after I said it. With Maura Curran, that was last Sunday night. Very nice, very cordial, and she is very supportive.
Yeah. Very supportive, and at first, when she was running, she wanted a community center.
She did.
And now she's not. Now she realizes, and she's being, you know, she's seen something. Has not made her mind up about whether she wants it in Gates or whether she wants a standalone. But this gave her an opportunity to see 2 different situations.
Thank you. There are no other comments, questions,
Items, issues?
Speak up, Barbara, hold your
That's
peace
right.
till next month.
So our meeting date next month
I
would
think we
be,
if we have a list of them here.
We do.
Good.
and I suspect that Audrey will be back,
It's
and,
supposed to be back, I think, April 9th.
yeah.
Oh, right, because there was Sally to our meeting.
Well, I would entertain a motion to adjourn
I make a motion that we adjourn the meeting at what time, Dustin?
at
7:10?
7:10.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Aye, aye,
Aye, aye, aye. Adjourned.
Very good.
Okay.
Thank you.
So you have to come to next